Of all the parents that were shown in My Little Pony, Applejack's parents are a true mystery because we don't know almost anything about them, just what is shown at the season 7. Where are they now? Did they really go bye-bye? Get ready anyway because I'm going to answer these questions today, here and now. Hey beautiful people, I'm Julie and today we're discussing about a delicate matter, but also a mysterious one, about Applejack's parents. Something that was spoken years before, when we were still on the first season and didn't even know how they look like. But Lauren Foss, the creator of the show, always made sure that her parents were deceased. She just didn't give any detail of how and when, driving the fans crazy with curiosity. And with that, we had a lot of theories being made. The most famous one being that the apples were unalived by timberwolves. This idea became from a channel called Inky Rose. They're shown to us the allegedly Applejack's parents and her names, Sweet Apple and Washington. In this story, her parents were coming back home when they were jumped by a group of timberwolves. The parents then send the children to run to the farm, while they stay and sacrifice themselves for their children that had just received a little sister, Apple Bloom, emphasizing that Big Mac became a pony of few words since this event, and because of that, Applejack chose to live with her uncles in the big city. But as soon as she sees the rainbow going directly to the Sweet Apple Acres, she felt like her parents were calling their daughter back home, continuing them to the legacy of the apple farm. Yes, a pretty dramatic story and an interesting one, but it is not true. It's just headcanon, which is when fans make up information that are not official, but for them it makes sense. Like giving the pony's colors a LGBTQ+ meaning. I bet that a lot of you guys knew already this story wasn't true because of the episode The Perfect Pair, season 7, which is for me one of the best and most memorable episodes on the show. And before I continue, drop a like in this video if you enjoy, before you forget. But getting back to the video, it was in this episode where we finally met the real Applejack's parents. And guys, it was really different from everything everybody expected, but in a good way. For starters, their names are Pear Butter and Bright Macintosh. Therefore, they were from two completely opposite families, where one farm sold apples and the other pears. And that difference made the two families become rivals. Something that lasted for years. But they loved each other independently, just like Romeo and Juliet, you know? And for what we could catch, Pear Butter, after being rejected by her father, was welcomed by the apples. After that, there isn't much information about this couple, but hold on because I have my own theory about what really happened. And you're going to have to watch this entire video to understand my line of thinking and to see if it makes sense, okay? Well, to begin with, Lauren Foss has already planned that Applejack's parents would be deceased. She just didn't know how yet. But as the show was targeted for child audience, she had to follow some guidelines, and that restrained a lot of her thinking about how tragic could be the future of the couple. Because even if it was just to say in the show that they died, Hasbro might think that this subject death was kind of inappropriate for children, you know. But something she already knew, they would pass out just a little bit after having Apple Bloom. And that becomes clear in the episode Apple Family Reunion, where Grandma Smith is showing Apple Bloom her photo album with the pictures of the apples, from the oldest to newest. And check it out, everybody that we know is there, but no sign of Pear Butter or Bright Mac. And in these photos, the apples were kind of big already. In the other episode that the couple show up very quickly is going to Seed, where in this part we see Bright Mac with his son Big Mac, and soon after Pear Butter taking care of baby Apple Bloom. And even though Lauren couldn't show how they passed away, from time to time the show gave us hints. Like one of the wishing stars that Applejack sees in the window just as Grandma Smith talked about how everybody in the family would gather. I got goosebumps in this scene, because it wasn't just me that noticed this detail. Some fans asked the showrunners if those wishing stars were some kind of tribute for Applejack's parents, and the answer was yes. And as I believe the show gave us hints about it, I ended up rewatching the episode Some Pony to Watch Over Me from the 4th season. In it, Applejack and Big Mac go on a business trip and left Apple Bloom alone in the farm. But Applejack becomes so protective of her sister that Apple Bloom runs away from home to prove that she could take care of herself. Then Apple Bloom come across a chimera, which is one of those creatures that my editor will put on the screen. Luckily, Applejack arrives with Mighty and saves her sister. But do you know what I realized? That Applejack knew exactly what to do against that chimera. Like, she bought a lot of stuff that were useful against the monster, even a flute to make the serpent sleep. Where am I going with this? What if it was the same chimera that killed her parents? Think with me. It wouldn't make more sense if the chimera was responsible for the disappearing of both at the same time, and after discovering that monster that was responsible for the death of her parents, Applejack unlocked a feeling of revenge for that monster, even though she couldn't kill it because besides it being extremely agile, My Little Pony is a kids show. Applejack would do everything to avoid the chimera. That would explain why Applejack went all in for the monster and why she was so protective to Apple Bloom all of a sudden. Don't you think? Quick sum up. Applejack was afraid that something would happen to her little sister, even though she was inside the house. She felt responsible for taking care of her, being the middle child. Maybe some instinct kicks in, something that is normal and natural in human beings and animals, including ponies of course. Doesn't it make more sense to wanting to protect her sister at all costs? But even though the responsibilities are enormous, right? Maybe their deaths were something more simple, like an ingenuous mishap, like they were camping or make a picnic alone, so they could enjoy a little time away from the kids. And instead of going to a regular forest, they ended up in Everfree Forest, or even in a prohibited territory, inhabited by fierce magical creatures. Well, a lot could have happened, but why we don't have an official statement? Why we don't theorize about it? And now it's your turn to tell me what is the theory that makes more sense. And why, okay? I love interacting with all you guys. And if you are not yet subscribed nor gave a like in this video, don't forget to do it so you don't lose any content on this channel. Thanks for watching till here and hasta la vista.